Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next in-commerce stage here at the DEPT Commerce Day. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Koen Boom-Huismans, Director of E-commerce at DEPT, located in the Netherlands. But the fun thing is today that we will be traveling around the globe. We will only at this stage 3, we'll be traveling to Canada, to Italy, and to Switzerland. And if you wonder if you are at the right stage, yes, you are, because stage 3 is the place to be. Today we will have some fantastic folks. You are more than welcome to hop in and hop out to the other talks as well. We will at this stage start with a panel conversation, as you can see in the calendar right here. After the panel conversation about going direct to consumer, we will have a talk with Jonathan and Tim about composable commerce. And the end of the talk will be covered by Lisanne about the cookieless e-commerce world. If you have any questions during the panel conversation or the keynotes, you can drop them in the chat. We will try to answer them directly. If there are too many questions or we don't have an answer immediately, we will get back to you later via LinkedIn, and we promise we do that. One practical note before we start with the panel conversation. Please, if you go back to the main stage, make sure you refresh your browser, because then the YouTube link will work again, or go to the chat in the desktop in the event area where you can find the YouTube link for the main stage. But way better to stay here at stage 3, because we will start with a panel. The panel is about going direct to consumer for traditional brands and manufacturers. I will not do this panel by myself, so I'm happy to introduce Matteo, Oliver, and Goni to the audience, because they will be participating in the panel as well. First, a little introduction. I'm looking very much forward to this panel because of the guests. Those are from various industries. So in this way, I hope we can cover a lot of D2C topics. But first, give the floor to the speakers, to the panelists, and a 2-3 minute introduction per person. Matteo, can I ask you to introduce yourself, your role at Design Holding, and a little bit of background?
Sure. Thanks, Cohen. Hi, everybody. My name is Matteo Bianchini from beautiful Italy. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Design Holding. Design Holding is a fantastic set of beautiful brands of the high-end design. Floss, B&B Italia, Fendi Casa, Louis Poulsen, Denmark. So it's a global set of brands in the high-end design, both lighting, furniture, and kitchens also. My role here is to drive the digital transformation of these brands. These brands are incredibly successful and iconic in some cases. We all probably know the Arco lamp. The Arco lamp is a floss lamp, and it's one of the best sellers that we have. It's known all over the globe. You know, I play basketball, and I saw a picture of Michael Jordan's house, and there was the Arco inside his house. So I'm pretty proud of that. Just to say that we have these beautiful brands, but they're not so advanced in the digital world. That's why in the last 3 years I've been trying to help them to get into the digital world. More about this later.
Cool. I have to admit, I think I have the same lamp which you were talking about, but maybe it's a copycat. I'm not sure. Sorry for that. Thank you for your introduction. Let's go to the next. Goni, welcome. Thank you for being here. Can you introduce yourself and a little bit about Keter and your role?
Hi, thank you. First of all, thank you for putting together this day. You put speakers from very different industries and different types of companies. But I think what's interesting is that we're all facing very similar issues. So it's really great to come together and connect and really openly discuss the various opportunities and challenges within this space. So pleasure to meet everybody. Goni Goder, VP Marketing at Keter North America, located in Toronto, Canada. It's beautiful fall weather, and it's actually not that cold. My background is in business development and global brand management and strategy. I've been working with Keter for about nearly a decade, to be honest. Time flies. And just over 2 years ago, I relocated for Keter to Toronto in Canada to lead the brand expansion for the brand in the US. I mean, Keter's, I'll say a few words in a bit, but Keter's been around for quite some time, but engaging directly with consumers and developing a brand is something that is relatively new to us. Very focused on opportunities within the digital space. I have an international background. I was born in Israel, educated in London, worked on global brand management in Belgium, and now working in digital in Toronto, which is actually a really interesting city. Shopify came from here. It was mentioned earlier in one of the talks. So there's a lot of development and interesting things happening in this space. About Keter, and I've got to say, this is a picture of our old website that you've put here. So the new website is much more engaging and interesting, but Keter has been around for 75 years. Started as a very small company, as a workshop in Israel, and grew to be a global company selling in over 100 countries, specializing in home and lifestyle solutions across 2 anchor brands. So I think there's quite a large European crowd here. Some are familiar with the Curver brand, which is for home storage. And there is the Keter brand for outdoor furniture and storage. Keter is a company that is, stands out in developing at a very fast pace with double-digit growth across the years. And it was led by innovation in products and business models through strategic retail partnerships with players such as Home Depot, Carrefour, Brico, Kingfisher Group, OBI, Hornbach, and doing that transition from having a strong position and footprint in the retail space to growing in e-commerce and digital has been quite an interesting journey that I've been happy to be part of.
Yeah, I can imagine that. That's also why you're part of this panel, because we love to hear more about that adventure and all the challenges that you encountered along the road. Before we dive into that and more challenges and opportunities for going direct, let's head over to the third panelist today, Oliver from Freitag. Welcome. Thank you also for being here. And can you please introduce yourself and a little bit of background to the company before we kick off the panel with the first statement?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm actually not in Switzerland. I'm in France currently. Very nice country at actually sea surfing here, so spending vacation. Yeah, my name is Oliver. I'm with Freitag for a couple of years. You might know the brand, or most of you might know the brand, especially the guys from DEPT. You see here, we're a purpose-driven company. I'm part in my many roles of the company, especially as a strategist in the last few years. So I was also responsible giving the company a strategic direction through the pandemic, which totally changed our actually buying or distribution model. And you see here, our company purpose reads intelligent design for a circular future. So that means for us, it's you cannot just design products intelligently, but also processes, distribution models, and organizations. We're a holacratic organization, so that means role-based, organized in circles. You actually see also on the right side our main material, the tarp, the PVC tarp. We're changing into a circle material, and I will maybe talk about the other 2 anim gifts a little later on, Cohen, when we have a discussion about it.
I think that. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But this is a nice first introduction already, and we are all curious to that next part of the story. We will be talking about the route and the challenge, the adventure of going direct to consumer. For some of you, this is a new channel. For some of you, this is an ever-growing channel. Some even started directly direct at the very, very beginning. I would like to challenge you to first give the answer from 1 to 10. How 10 is going direct is native for us, and 1 is no, that's not something we do. How mature is your company in going direct to the consumer? Where did you just give an answer in terms of a number, and then elaborate a little bit on where you are in that journey and what your next steps will be. So everybody knows a little bit where you are and your company is when we talk about going direct to consumer before we dive into more challenging questions. Goni, can I ask you to answer that question? 1 or 0 to 10, where are you going direct?
And the most native was 1.
The other way around.
In any case, I would aim safe. I would say we're somewhere in the middle. I mean, I think Keter's, well, D2C is a new adventure for us. So that's something that in the US has been active for 3 months. We've been very active in the e-commerce space. So understanding how to do content digitally, how to position products, that is something that we've been doing for over a decade. But D2C is something that is quite a recent experience for the past 3 months, but it was very much in the natural development of the company to go into that direction.
Cool. Okay. I think that gives us a good idea. Oliver, same question to you. How mature and
well,
why?
let's start with the consumer. We don't call our customers consumers, because consume is something you take it, you don't actually leave something behind. So we call them young conscious urbanites.
Nice.
And we actually used to be a retail company. And so, as I said before, the pandemic changed quite a lot. So people stayed at home, and our share in retail was about 80% and 20% e-com in 2019. And today it's about 45% e-com. So, and now you have to imagine all our products are unique. So that's the beauty and the beast of a business model. If each of your product is a SKU, that made distribution through only digital channels very complex, because when you Google our website, freitag.ch, you will see product pages and many colored, unique products. And now you have to imagine, if you only have like reddish or bluish colors there, the conversion rate drops dramatically. That means we always have to provide a very colorful mix of products on every touch point of the brand.
Do you know why the conversion rate drops on that moment?
Because, now if you only see blue, most people don't, I mean, it's just one color, right? So doesn't touch everybody's heart. So you need to touch everybody's taste and heart with unique colors. And that was kind of tricky in shifting our distribution from mainly retail to e-com, and creating that load online on all our channels. That was, really hard. So, but in general, our strategy since many years is direct to consumer or to customer, because we produce in Zurich, in the middle of Zurich, in one of the most expensive places in the world. So that means our margin has to be really good in order to continue to be self-financed as a purpose-driven company. So it's a strategic way actually to stick on the road, direct to customer or young conscious urbanite.
And then from 0 to 10, 0 is like early stage and 10 is only direct, where you are?
Currently?
Yeah.
No, currently it's direct is around 78%.
Oh wow! I wasn't even aiming for a percentage, a number to make it more general, but very transparent. Thank you so much.
We also run 30 direct stores or own flagship stores, and we continue to invest in those. So we totally believe in retail, in the combination of retail and e-com. So so that's a very high number. It used to be only for 50, close to 50% a couple of years ago.
Cool. Matteo, can you answer the same question? How mature is Design Holding and the various brands in going direct to consumer, and where are you on this scale?
Yeah, our number is lower. Our number currently is, I would say, is a 3. Why is that? Because these brands were successful in focusing on products, making beautiful products, and then having distribution, a very strong distribution around the globe, selling them. And this is a very successful model that has been going on forever. And changing a very successful model is always the most difficult thing, because of course it's successful. However, we all know in this panel, but also around the globe, that going direct to consumer is absolutely paramount. We are at 3, so it's not high, but a couple of years ago we were close to 0. So I'm saying that even if we're not in a good position yet where we want to be, we're still very far from where we were a couple of years ago, because we have done giant leaps in getting direct to consumer with the e-commerce that was not present before, with more stores and going direct also physically to the consumers. This is something that is a journey that is going on, and it's only going one direction. So yeah. This 3 was 0, and it's going to be 5, 6 in 2 more years.
Yeah, that's the goal. Good. That's good to hear. It's also nice. Keep that in mind for this next statement, because I'm wondering in what extent you agree to this statement. And the statement is, all brands and product manufacturers should think about going direct to consumer in the near future. And I know this group is maybe a little bit biased because we invited you because this is a topic on your agenda at management level, but there are also people listening to this talk, maybe a single person in a company who sees that this is the future, but the management does not yet. So try to generalize it a little bit, maybe add your own point of view, and then from your company perspective, do brands have a future? Do product manufacturers have a future? If they do not include the channel direct in their marketing and sales mix at all. Maybe because Matteo, you just explained about from 0 to 3 in a couple of years. What's your view on this statement?
Well, I agree with this statement. And I give you an example of what could happen if you don't do this. If you're not planning accordingly to this. We have quite a lot of players in the online space. There are marketplaces, starting from Amazon, but also specific and vertical marketplaces. They're very strong, they're very good. They're able to engage the customers with a lot of different ways, and they only do that. They don't have to take care of about, for example, making beautiful sofas on or lamps. So if we don't go direct, they're going to sell us our products, and this is good, of course. And we could say, wow, fantastic, these guys are selling a lot of my products, but sooner or later, the relationship that they have with the consumer will prevail, and our products will become invisible for the consumer. The consumer will say, I purchased a lamp from that marketplace, opposite to say I purchased a lamp from Floss. That's a real risk that we are facing if we're not fostering our connection with the consumers. So basically, we're going to become white labels for the marketplaces over there if we don't have the relationship with the client. On top of that, we all know that the relationship with the client increases a lot their lifetime value. The more you work with the clients, the more you, of course, in order to work with them, you have to know them. So you have to have the relationship. But once you know them, you can extend their lifetime value quite significantly over the span of a very short time. So this is relevant not only strategically overall, but it's also a matter of increasing the revenues coming from the direct-to-consumer channels.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know, Goni, we have been talking about this a lot, so I think you have an opinion about that. I was wondering what your view is on this.
I mean, I fully agree with Matteo, and I think Keter is a company that has transitioned from being a product manufacturer, of actually being proud to put our brand at the forefront. So we've made that transition to understand the importance of brand, the importance for our products to be recognized as Keter. And it is so competitive in the marketplace with so many players trying to create these quick brands. And I think from our point of view, the main strategic goal was to own the relationship with the consumer and use Keter.com, our D2C site, use our social platform as one that play a pivotal role within the consumer journey. So consumers today spend so much time online and they really care about the products that they buy and they want to educate themselves. And Keter needs to be that professional point of contact and the professional authority within the industry to say, this is the product that you need to buy. This is why you buy it. Whether you decide to buy directly from us or whether you make a different choice that's more appropriate to your lifestyle, still we see that it's not just about the price. It's about trust. It's about journey. It's about lifetime value. And consumers will feel more confident to buy from a brand that they own. So it's part of a brand development. And I think it's essential for brands to look at it and own that relationship. And going direct means that you can own and you own the data and you're not leaving it in other hands, whether it's retailers or different media players.
Do I summarize you correctly then that going direct is more than just a sales channel in your case, that it's maybe even okay that if they just orientate and compare and learn about the brand and maybe shop somewhere else, but still you own that first part of the journey? Or
100%, because I think consumers today want to buy from whenever, wherever. We of course want them to buy from Keter.com, but we see it also as an exercise to enlarge the pie, right? Yeah. Also, our retailers are happy with the brand efforts that we're making, because at the end of the day, the more Keter is known within the category, the more people look to buy Keter. Wherever they decide, we both enlarge the pie, but we also enlarge our market share for buying direct within that pie. So yeah, that's an accurate summary.
Yeah, okay. Very interesting. And I know for Oliver and Freitag, they all have literally unique products. So each and every piece is unique, as you explained during the introduction. What does this mean for the D2C strategy at Freitag? Is that an advantage or a disadvantage?
It's either way. I mean, it's probably more an advantage because when you consider the amount of products you need to provide at each touch point of the brand in order to have that mix, that selection potential, it's an advantage for direct, because for a wholesaler, he has to invest quite a lot in actually to sell Freitag, because he has to provide the selection. He cannot just buy 2 or 3 pieces and then try out if the brand is working at his touch point. Same with e-com, wholesale e-com. So wholesale has to invest quite a lot. So if you don't have to do that because you're selling direct, of course you have quite an advantage. But if you expand the brand, you rely on partners still those days. So you cannot buy your reach because, for example, we don't make paid media, so we don't pay for ads at all. So we have this golden rule. So that means it's only mouth to mouth and spreading the word. Excuse me?
Organic and mouth to mouth.
Yes, and communication, public relation. So real stories. So if then you rely on people, right, that are like your ambassadors. So it's not all digital then. And so to expand the brand the last few years, as we were also growing quite strong and into new markets, we had to find new partners, and then they have to invest because they believe in the brand. So it's not just direct, because as a self-finance company, you cannot buy your shares in the market. You need partners to, open up your shares for the market. So yeah, it's a more sustainable way actually for us to grow the brand.
Yeah, and if I summarize your and the answers of Matteo and Goni as well, I think I try to summarize the statement before we go to the next. I heard I think Matteo saying consumers expect it. They want to buy wherever they want. Or Goni, it was you who said this. And Matteo, you said you will be vanished as a brand. Your value as a brand will go down if there is always somebody in between you as a manufacturer and not a brand anymore, and the end consumer. You can play a bigger role on the chain. It's a bigger margin. And competitors are doing it as well. So those are some reasons why we concluded that this is a good idea. And of course, we are here talking about D2C, so it makes sense that we promote this trend. It is literally a trend. Many brands are thinking about it, or actually doing it already. But there are also many challenges, because it's not that easy, right? And I think because you all started the journey just recently, or already a bit for a longer time, but I think it's very relevant for the people in the room who are listening to this talk, what the main challenges are, and how, if you can name one or a few, and how did you overcome those? So maybe to start off with you this time, Oliver, the main challenges for you setting up the channel, and how did you overcome them?
Oliver, you said Oliver, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I think the main challenges are creating experiences online. And we saw an anim GIF before on one of your screens, which derived from our company strategy. And we said, if we create more traffic and more share via direct to consumer e-com, we also have to create experiences that we have to translate from retail to e-com. So, and this was kind of new to us because we are a very analog brand. So you can touch it, you can feel it, it smells quite typical. Freitag has a typical smell. It's the smell of used PVC, the beauty of imperfection. So, and you cannot just easily transfer that into a digital distribution channel or platform. So that means we had to think of experiences that are unique to a brand that trigger traffic into our e-com platforms. And that was really tough through the last few years. And that's due to, as I said, to the changes of behavior, of buying behaviors. And that was probably our main challenge, creating those experiences. And I can tell you. How did you solve it? Yeah, you can look for example, also DEPT was involved into code at one stage. It's called FCut. So it's a customization version of a Freitag bag online. And you can create your own bag out of used truck tarps that are cut in Europe and then sewed together and shipped to home. So, and this only existed in our flagship stores before. So we had to transfer that or translate that into a digital version. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the designing your own went very successful. Yeah. The question, same question for you, Matteo. The question for going direct in the main challenge. You told me there's a big organization behind, and maybe some low maturity levels. So can you shed some? We talked before about this topic. Can you shed some light on those challenges?
Yeah, thanks. There are mainly, I would say, two kinds of challenges. One is to overcome the traditional model of distribution, not because we want to completely change that, but we want to work together with that. So we don't want to our partners, our wholesalers, to close. We want to be together with them on the relationship with the consumer.
Yeah.
So the challenge is to work with the consumer without creating attritions with the wholesale channels. The wholesale channels are going to be always very important for us. They also are good for combining brands, our brands, with other brands, because of course the consumer wants to be free in deciding whatever combination of pieces he wants in his house. So the challenge here is to go direct, but at the same time preserve a good relationship and a good connection and a positive connection with the wholesale channels, because also the wholesalers are going direct online as well. So we need to work together, and we need to have specific elements that are good for both. For example, in our case, in the case of our direct channels, we can have specific products that are reserved to our channels because they're limited edition. for example, and that's normal. It has been normal in the fashion for a long time. It is normal also in the digital space, and that's something that the wholesalers are not considering as aggressive because they don't have that in their offers. So we're not clashing the offers. And this is a very important thing to do. Otherwise, it's a race to the bottom. I mean, they're starting to discount. We don't want to discount, so it's a lose-lose situation. However, if we work together, it's a win-win one. The second challenge is to, similar to what Oliver just said, we are selling sofas that are very expensive. For example, these sofas are made of leather or fabric, and touching that makes a lot of difference. So that's a little bit hard to transfer online. So, or if you buy a lamp, it's easier maybe, but at the same time, you're not sure about which color and which warmth is the light that comes from the lamp.
Yeah.
So we need to do more. We need to do more than just having a good website. In our case, we identified, for example, for sofas, swatches that we can send to the customers. And these are very luxurious ones in which you can see a pretty big chunk of a lot of fabrics and leathers that they can choose before you can decide which is the finishes that you want on your sofa. And again, we're talking about sofas that are quite expensive. I mean, we're talking about dozens of thousands of euros for these sofas, and buying them online can be a problem. But it is not if you first make them touch that before they can buy it, but also second, if you, and this is a sub challenge that we have in this second challenge, is to offer a good service in terms of installation. You cannot just receive a sofa in a box. It's not possible. So
do you offer this?
We have created what we call a white glove service, and this is needed not only because of the product that we're selling, but also because of the level of quality of the product that we sell. So you expect that from a bunch of products, a bunch of brands like ours, which are very high level.
And do you then collaborate with partners, or do you have those people internally helping out those installation requests?
For the white gloves, we collaborate with partners, but these partners are the same that we always have also in the physical setting, also for the physical sales that we do. Because of course, this is a value that we provide. Dear customer, you're buying a sofa from B&B Italia or from Fendi Casa, and you rest assured that the quality that you're buying online and offline will be the same, not only for the products, but also for the service that is following that. If we don't do that, they will not buy online. You will not buy a $20,000 sofa online if you are not sure about the service. You will go to the nearest shop or nearest store to touch it and everything.
So the one hand,
last thing, we also have a small advantage that we are using online. It's how quick you get these products. Luckily, we have quite a high demand. I mean, our sales are growing quite a lot, and this means sometimes you have to wait quite a long time for our products to be delivered to you if you buy them in a store. Now, online, we know that will kill the conversion rates. So we have worked strongly with our brands to have a very quick, very high fill rate and a very quick shipment. And that's making a lot of difference, especially because it's way quicker than the physical work.
Yeah. So do you reserve some stock for the online channel then, or because then you can serve your online customers maybe faster than the retail or wholesaler customers?
We are, when possible, we are serving our online customers, direct customers, quicker than the other channels. Of course, because these guys want to buy from us, from the source, from the original source. So they need to have an advantage for that. It's right. It's only right. And by the way, this way they also can have additional benefits, like for example, better warranty coverage and free shipment when applicable. Not price. It's not price for our products, because of course we're talking about high end, and these guys who are buying this kind of products, they are not so price sensitive.
No.
They are
No.
service and quality sensitive, and that's why we need to work on that, and that's really the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And Goni, do you recognize yourself in this channel conflict? I think it was the second challenge that Matteo explained. At the one hand, you want to go direct, but on the other hand, you also don't want to harm your relationship with the maybe traditional and existing, still biggest part of the pie, your resellers, your wholesalers.
And I think for us, that's one of the challenges, because our strategy is to be an added value destination. So not to compete the pricing. It's not where you can get the cheapest Keter product, but it's how do you add all of the value added, whether it's a lot of it's funny, the similarities between what Matteo talked about, which is very high level luxurious sofas, and we sell sheds, resin-made sheds, but we're all like, how do we ensure that we always have inventory? What type of service do we have around assembly or removing your existing shed and putting a new shed in place? So it's everything else that we can, being the brand, being the original manufacturers of the product, all of the added services that we want to offer our customers, and we're starting to build that, and we're starting to understand really what's relevant for consumers, what they really expect from us. That all has to be superior to buying it via Amazon or via Wayfair. You've gotta provide more confidence. You've got to provide all of that extra, because that's why consumers come to you. So I think from us, it's twofold challenges that we're experiencing. How do we make sure that we're providing all of this, extra services, but even how do we do content that is both aspirational, both, excites you, but really feels authentic as well. I think it's very easy for brand to go down the paid route. And I was, it's fascinating, Oliver, what you mentioned on going organic first. And that's what we did. First 3 months post-launch, only organic, nothing paid. But we were amazed actually about where that brought us, and choosing the ambassadors and how do we communicate the brand authentically. It's something that you really, there's a fine line there.
In the meantime, if people have questions about all these challenges, and now specifically the zooming in a little bit on the channel conflict challenge, please share them in the chat so we can address them at the end of the talk, which will be in five minutes. But before we go to the question part, one final question to the three of you, because in our list of participants, we have many product owners, e-commerce managers, CMOs, e-commerce directors. You are on a journey that they maybe are as well or want to start. And I will go to that slide as well. What advice would you give them when they start up their direct-to-consumer channel? Goni, it was only a couple of months or years ago that you that you started this. What will be like the one or two biggest and maybe unique advices or tips that you can give the participants of this talk?
I'm going to start maybe with a more personal one, because in a sense, I think taking your company through a digital transformation project is you're an agent of change. And it's not always easy for people to follow suit with that. For us, we've been around for many, many years, and we went on a very ambitious multi-cloud project. You've got some DEPT team members on the call as well. They know exactly the internal challenges that we were facing, and not a lot of people want change, but I think this is something that is just, when you're within the digital community, it is so obvious and clear. This is where the world is heading. It's not always obvious for your colleagues and counterparts, but stay super focused on the goal, and people will follow, because it's also such an exciting space and the added value is incredibly clear. So the one thing I would say is stay focused, don't hesitate, march. And I think the second one is find the right partners to go with you within that journey. And it's not always easy. It's very specialized talent. A lot of people oversell what they're offering. Find the one that is like the best fit with your strategic goals, which you've got to clearly articulate them, and with the nature of your company as well as you progress.
That's a great advice. Thank you for that. And I think you expected this one already. Oliver, do you have some advice for the listeners as well regarding going direct, if they want to start or boost this journey that they are on?
Yeah, well, probably say like Simon Sinek, start with why before you ask how and with what. I don't know where the trigger will come from, but direct sales, of course, because of margin, is probably something most brands admire somehow.
Yeah.
So should admire. So, and I think actually it's probably the easier journey than going through other or third parties or partners. You just have to be very precise in finding your niche, and as I said, answer why you want to go there first directly. And if you can say that, then you start with project, you start with empowering other people. Your organization has to run by its own. So it should not be like the direction. It should be something natural, organic, to find your direct ways to customers. So for me, it always starts with, even there, distribution strategy starts with why.
Yeah, cool. So make very clear why you want to do this and what the benefits are for your company, for your department, and involve others in that before you start the how and the what. Cool. And if somebody in the organization, and maybe that somebody is your boss or a CEO, says, and this one, Matteo, I'm wondering what your answer is on that one. Why do we need to set our own platform? We can go to third-party resellers, to marketplaces. That's easy. That's maybe even an easier way of going direct, or maybe a first step. Do you agree, or do you? What's your answer to this?
Well, it could be a first step, but it's 2022, almost 2023. So that could be a good first step in 2005, maybe. But it's a little bit late now to start slow and then later get on the direct channel. I mean, it's going to be too late. Actually, it's risking to be too late even today. I would say that so the answer is no. We can't wait. We have to go direct. And in order to go direct, we also have to consider what we usually don't consider enough, in my opinion, because we are all part of these beautiful organizations and we have to do a lot of presentations, and we forget about the people. I mean, the people the consumer. We have to understand what the consumer wants to do. I mean, he wants sometimes to get out of all the noise that is in the background and get to the real source of the products and understand from the real source of the product, which is the purpose of the product, which is the sustainability of the product, which is the story behind it, the legacy, and this is something that gives him or her a value and gets him to buy much more than promotions or digital marketing mechanism that we can put together. So I would advise to look at what the consumer wants and build around that, rather than building around our digital marketing capabilities or our organizational discussions. Then, of course, I also agree with Goni, you have to have the right partner to do that. If you don't have the right partner, you're not going anywhere, because you cannot do that on your own or without someone that shares this vision.
Very, very clear, and thank you for this elaborate answer and those tips and advices that you gave to the participants. We already, time-wise, we already ended the panel conversation. The time we reserved for this panel is finished. So thank you so much for attending, for your valuable insights and ideas. Normally, when this was a physical event, you would have a big round of applause. I have to excuse myself that this is not the case today, but all the listeners would like to do a digital applause. Thank you so much for being here. and we will go to the next topic on this stage. Bye, panelists. Thank you, Goni, Oliver, Matteo. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.